see something for you and your family. Make a puppet from things you've got. Scissors and glue, now write the plot. Watch, make, share.
Today on People Behind the Puppets, I'm speaking to Max Humphries in Farnham. Max has produced puppets for Cirque du Soleil, the National Theatre, Little Angel and many more. Hello Max, I'm Angel. Nice to meet you.
Hello Angel, very nice to meet you.
Hi. So Max, how did you first get into making puppets?
I first got into making puppets because I grew up in very rural Devon in the woods, and we didn't really have anything to do. So the only thing to do really was me and my brothers used to make things. So I made things. So from when I was 4 was when I started telling people I wanted to make puppets when I was bigger. And then I became bigger and now I make puppets.
Wow, so it started early then.
Yep. I've never had a real job. I've always just done this.
Oh, I think it's a real job. So what happened next?
So I made lots of puppets growing up. And then I studied theatre design at the Royal Welsh College of Music and Drama. And then when I left, I did lots of jobs working around Bristol and London, working for companies like Green Ginger and Pickled Image and The Little Angel. And then I started a kind of a nameless company, which I've run for about 15 years, but still hasn't actually been named, where I take commissions and I make puppets for theatre companies when people kind of want to make weird puppets. They come to me and say, can you make this for us? Which is my favorite thing to do. I didn't really want to make shows for myself. I wanted to collaborate with other people and make things.
So what is it you enjoy most about making puppets?
Well, what's interesting about the way I make puppets is I very much am interested on the insides of puppets rather than on the outside. The outside of the puppets are normally dealt with by my good friend Chuck Brown, who's not here today, but she makes all the outsides. The bit I love is all the insides. It's the cogs and the gears and the handles and the linkages and all those bits.
Ah, okay. And what's your favourite type of puppet?
My favourite kind of puppet is a small tabletop puppet. But fortunately, the puppets people like me to make are very, very big puppets. So I make big dinosaurs and dragons and things like that. But my favourite kind of puppets are smaller puppets.
Oh, wow. Tell us a bit more about tabletop puppets.
I'll get you an example of one.
Okay.
Here's an old one from my house. Oh, let me back up a bit. This is a little tabletop puppet I made for an art book called 1001 Nights, where they asked me to make a night for a book. So this was my little puppet I made. So she's quite fun. So this is a classic kind of tabletop puppet, quite small, and it's called tabletop because you want to puppeteer it at about table height, because that's comfiest for the puppeteers. But yes, she's all kind of, this one doesn't actually have many mechanisms, but she's very simple, puppeteered by 3 people traditionally, normally. But yeah, she's quite fun. Just a nice.
Her little face under there.
Oh yeah, she's got a little helmet, like a little goblin helmet that goes up and down and covers her face.
Oh yeah. Have you got any others you can show us?
So that's probably the only finished one. Well, my thing is that whenever I finish a puppet, they go off onto shows and tours. So there's very rarely finished puppets in my workshop. Where's some more bits? Here's a little finger I've been prototyping, which is a nice little wooden finger for a nice pair of hands. Where's some other things? Oh, there's always bits around. Here's a very old cat I made for. This is the inside mechanism for a cat, which I made for Alice in Wonderland. So that's
that looks complicated.
All my stuff's not really complicated, but this has a little slider. It's less complicated than you think it might be. That's quite fun. And then we're making a big show called Dragons and Mythical Beasts right now. And this is the head of a griffin I'm building, which is based on a shoebill, which is one of my favourite birds. But yeah, he's quite fun. He's got little eyes. I'm wiring him up today. So he's got a nice control over here. So he's got a mouth that opens and little ear tufts that go up and down. And then the top of his head is magnetic. So
his head's come off.
his head does come off, so you can work on him and do oiling and change wires and things like that. I often have to do shows for very long tours. So maintenance of puppets is something I have to really consider when I'm designing them. So there's often panels that come off so you can change nuts and change bits and bobs. And his eyes, let me grab an eye, come out on magnets. So if you need to change anything or fix anything or tune anything, you can, which is very good for all the old cables and changing springs and things like that. But this is a nice little, a nice little eyeball. This has lots of gears at the back. You can just see these two big drums here.
Yeah.
As they move, they've got little gears on them which turn the eyelids. So this is a nice one. This is made of nylon.
Wow.
Yeah, nice little light, and then that just magnets straight back into the puppet when you finish changing the bits.
And Max, when you're making these puppets, what are 3 things you need to consider?
Let me just put this one down. The 3 things. What do you think? I mean, for me, I always think the 3 things you need to consider are weight, because I like to have puppets with lots of mechanisms. So my puppets are often quite heavy, but also at the same time, I'm constantly trying to strip weight off them so I can put more stuff into them to make them do more things. So for me, the things that are really considered is, I think it's really important to start with the skeleton, personally. I like to make my puppets from the inside out rather than the outside in. I need to work out how many puppeteers I'm going to have using them and what kind of things they can do and what they want to do for performance. So they're my most important things. So we can kind of work out, if it's a very simple puppet, it'll do very simple things. But if you want it to be able to pick up a bottle or something, you're going to have to make it a very complicated hand to be able to do that. But yeah, that's kind of, I think that answers the question.
Yes, it does. Thank you. It's all really fascinating. Max, thank you for talking to me today. It's been great.
Angel, it's been my pleasure.
Thanks so much for watching, everyone. Bye.